what's happening? What's the stakes looking like within your own organizations?
First of all, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for having me here and having this event. Since morning, we had a lot of insightful discussion, and especially the last one where you have covered what is happening in Gen AI and in Concur especially, and it was very, very interesting. We are one of Concur user, and hopefully we'll be able to see some of these features very soon.
It's already there.
It's already there? Okay, so probably we are not using it, we should start using it then. See, Gen AI, I feel it's a friend, right? Now, it depends on us how quickly we adopt, because probably we have not reached to a stage where we can completely trust Gen AI today because the hallucination factors, and that is what gives it the regenerative capabilities, right? That is how it is different than AI. So I feel that it is still evolving, but eventually it will become a very, very good friend.
Thanks, Pratap.
Hi, good afternoon all. As he was mentioning, the sessions were very good, particularly the last one where application of AI, Gen AI is being discussed. So the question is, it's a friend or an enemy? How does it matter? We don't have a choice. Gen AI has moved far, far ahead, and unless we adapt, we are not going to survive. So it doesn't matter what we feel about it. It is going to happen, it is already there, it is going to happen further, and more adoption or application of AI, Gen AI particularly is going to come, and it is now and here. It is not somewhere in future, 5 years, 6 years later, no, now. It is question of 5 months, 6 months, what is going to be applied. So we don't have a choice. Let's accept and move forward.
Nice, very well put, nice, love it.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandip Goenka from ACKO Life. With respect to being a friend or an enemy, I think it's a little early to comment on that, but it's becoming a part of every management investor in a boardroom discussion. Things to look forward to are the use cases, and not just in finance, right? CFOs are responsible for the enterprise level activities, so sales, marketing, operations, very, very relevant, customer operations. I think what I feel is it would come and get implemented in a phased manner. So there are risks involved around governance, around data privacy sector. So it will come soon. If we can manage those risks, it will get implemented very, very fast.
Thanks, Ramani.
I just want to add on to the point that he mentioned, that there is no choice really, especially for operations intensive businesses like our own business, TeamLease, which is into people supply chain. So every month we have to interview 1 lakh candidates, roll out offer letters to 50,000, onboard 20,000. So for the entire hiring process, right from matching, the onboarding, their life cycle management, their expense reimbursement, payroll inputs. So for all of this, without automation, AI, and now the Gen AI, we haven't implemented it full scale because it's still evolving, but we have no choice other than managing at this scale to have AI being implemented.
Well, nice put. But just to add it on what you guys was mentioning, right? The finance function are considered to be a hyper-conservative folks, right? The change management is always mighty difficult in our community, right? Gen AI is challenging that big time, right? So it's going to really ask you guys a question that, are you going to change or move away? So that's hitting a lot of people, and in the finance function, it's literally felt. And whenever we were asking the people, right, the need for me to adopt is also because, am I going to be more relevant now, or am I going to be redundant now? That's the conversation that happens with Gen AI in this space. And what's your take on it? I mean, do you believe that, are you going to look at it as a fear-mongering system, or do you believe that we need to somewhere skill up our own way of looking at it, and competencies and things where we could also complement it? I mean, what's the thought process around that in your organizations?
Yeah, I do agree that finance sometimes are the slow there is a slow adaptation. Generally, I have also seen from a technology perspective in finance, but probably this time it is a little different, and as my other fellow panelists have already highlighted, that we don't have any choice now. Now, I see this as a journey. You cannot directly go and go and adopt Gen AI as a capability. In our organization, what we have done so far, that we have built a org 360 platform.
Nice.
Because one of the biggest challenge which a growth organization typically faces is there are multiple different business applications. These business applications do not really talk to each other, and that leads to a lot of data inconsistency, data quality issues, leading to decision making issues. So first of all, we have created a org 360 degree sort of platform where everything comes together in that platform. On top of that, from last couple of years, we are already using AI, which typically we, in your terminology, narrow AI, in our terminology, more traditional use of AI, which is very, very program based for a very defined scope. And in last a year or 2 years, we have kind of refined it to such an extent that we are already seeing some benefit out of it. Now that puts us in a position where we can still we can consider implementing Gen AI on top of it, and we can give this a more natural flow, and we can probably encourage users, and the adoption rates can further go up in our organization. So we have already seen certain benefits from sales productivity side, sales planning side. We have seen some impact on our account receivable management side. And one of the learning what we had was that all depends on the quality of data. Now, for the system or any AI or generative AI system to work properly, the quality, you need to have a very, I will say, accurate and a good quality data.
Perfect, well put. I mean, that's the difference between narrow AI and Gen AI, right? In narrow AI, it is narrow. If you have data issues, it will fail. And for it to learn, it's going to take a long time. But Gen AI can survive with soiled data. And that's why we call it as citizen data, because we live in a world with uncertainties, and that's a reality. But well put, Kim.
Yeah, maybe I can just add a few points.
Sure.
So ACKO has been, forthcoming in terms of any sort of technology disruption, etc. And we are willing to adopt it much faster. And Gen AI will be no different here. In terms of whether finance, I think it should be considered as a friend more, because it's not just it's just not left to data anymore. It's more about insights. It's about content. It's about
absolutely
being a business enabler rather than being an account keeper. So I think it's both ways. Gen AI is also going to help CFOs perform their 360-degree responsibilities well.
Very nice. Very nice.
More importantly, in influencing the decision making and helping us with the right data and right information in making the decisions. So I don't see any challenge in terms of adoption. Of course, there'll be resistance in any form of automation, because when computers were introduced decades back, there was resistance that it will take away jobs, but more and more jobs are getting created. Same thing, now we see that whether automation will take away existing jobs, but the belief is it will create new set of jobs. So that's how we are seeing that this automation, AI, all of these will bring in more productivity and more optimization with better decision.
Nicely put, Ramani. Thank you.
So the point here is then Gen AI, what is that is going to happen? This natural language query report making and all, it's a little old. It's already past. So what is going to happen is people-less processing, people-less accounting. This is what is going to emerge in the near future. It's not very far away. So what I have 100 people in my team, it may come down to 10. So this definitely will create a difference in the view. There is always a question, because I come from IT industry, there was a question, long discussion that IT industry is being killed by Gen AI. Okay. So the question is, I don't think so. Any of the automation, anything that has come, and we have still survived and grown and then come back with the new possibilities and other thing. So there will be a plenty of new opportunity coming in. But enabling functions, as she was saying, hiring is a very complex area for us. Quite a lot of frauds happening. Very interestingly, the fraud detection is going to be very important, Gen AI tool, and all through the question of, if you take a finance function, you will have something called analytical team or an accounting team, processing team. The processing team and accounting team will have a challenge. This can automatically be done by Gen AI. Even if I have to do earlier, I remember doing IFRS and Ind AS was so difficult for a organization. It was an adoption time. With Gen AI coming in, it may do it on its own. If I do one accounting, it can create the other one also. So that's a kind of evolvement. It will come in. Already is there. Some form it is there, but more dynamically happening will happen in this. But this is a technology revolution. So as I mentioned earlier, we are no resistance, adoption, change management, anything is there, it is going to happen. So we have to move on.
Very well put. I mean, because it's a very homogeneous crowd here, because when we did the same conversation, I think 3 weeks back in Delhi, right, there were a lot of resistance. If I have to give you a quick real-time view, right, there were quite a lot of resistance. I mean, your contemporary in the insurance domain felt that, hey, this is leading me to challenging me in decisions that I take. Why should I be challenged? Was a conversation that was coming in, right? Your own contemporary, I mean, the same industry. So there are some amount of old school way of looking at it, to say that egoism, as we say, into build, to say that why is it challenging me? Is it something allowed to challenge me? It's a technology solution and it will go away. It's the human intelligence that will prevail at the end, right? I mean, that's the thought process that's already prevailing. And in fact, in the most of the industries where automation is already happening, there are also questions to say that, do you really need Gen AI for automation? Or is it more of an operational efficiency? Or do I leverage Gen AI for strategic decision making, right? So where do you see that balance? I mean, do you feel that it's more old school, automation driven, operational efficiencies that are being driven? Or do you believe that it's going to give you more strategic insights into where am I going to make the next investment case for, right? Where do you see this throttle happening?
On a lighter note, this is a Bangalore panel, so we are more open to automation.
More technology aligned,
yes,
rather.
Savvy.
So the way I see it is, there are two sides in our role. One is the transactional finance, if I can say so, the finance operations. The other side is more strategic finance. From a transaction side, definitely the focus should be on productivity, which will include some bit of automation, and from a strategic finance side, these are the focus should be on far deeper insights. Now, one of the challenge today for finance function is the financial data is basically outcome of the operations data. Now, most cases, the finance data, operations data, they don't talk to each other very well.
True.
And even when they talk to each other, by then it is already little too late and the data gets little stale. So you cannot really use the data for decision making. Where Gen AI can come really, really handy in strategic decision making is real-time insights. And it can probably give more agility to every organization from a decision-making perspective.
Just adding to you, right? I mean, we are moving towards a state of what we call as continuous accounting. No more are the days of where you can do a period end closure or a quarter end closure. Nobody believes in that now. And Gen AI is enabling you to do even 365 days of period ends. That was never the case earlier. And that's the paradigm shift that's happening. But do we believe that we are well settled to even take the benefits of it? Or do you still feel that it's my quarter, I still have to disclose it to my markets on a quarterly basis, so I still need to do a quarter end closure, 7 days of closure, AP shut down first, AR shut down first, then my dunning processes run? Are we still in that traditional model?
Absolutely, we are still in the traditional model. I think it's going to take a little while for us to trust the system. we cannot really create a regulatory reporting out of Gen AI today, right? So we can use it for our internal data analytics and insights and make certain internal decisions. So for any other outside external reporting, be it regulatory or investor reporting of that nature, probably it's little too early for us to start using Gen AI.
He was right. The regulatory reporting still has a time to go. Not because Gen AI cannot do it, because it is complicated. Okay, so let's park it for the time being because it has a lot of interpretations required from our side before we decide what to disclose, how to disclose, kind of thing. And always there be a new thing coming in regularly. They are updating it also. What is interesting is he was mentioning about operational support by Gen AI is much higher, leader, easier. Yes, true. But strategic also. And on a lighter note, last time when I have to make a presentation about what are the opportunities in the particular business, particular region, it took me half an hour. I didn't do anything. Earlier I have to do a lot of work. Now I can go to ChatGPT, use the data, I wanted this, you give me a presentation, you give me a point, you give me the data, you give me this, half an hour presentation is ready. So it is quite easy for many general things to include. Nowadays I don't do the presentation. For example, a job description. I'm just giving an example for that. You give the condition, ChatGPT gives you everything. No more writing, no more thinking. So train your assistants to use the ChatGPT to do that. So many of these functions, a lot of productivity improvements are going to happen on the operation side. On the strategy side, particularly data-based questions on the strategy. It is now the discussion happens. Whatever, if I present a data, they will immediately be questioning me because they have live data with them, right? So that's a question. The challenge for a CFO. Earlier, the CFOs were using the data as their wealth. They had access, others didn't have access. So that has also changed over a period of time. Democratization of data has already happened. Everybody has a position on the data. But again, we bring in an interpretation, our own interpretation of the data, differences, questions. It is going to be a difficult situation for us in the coming days because the processing, team members are not going to be there. You are going to be questioned on every data, the way you use data to justify a strategy. All these things will change for some time till it settles down. Once it is a way of life, what we happen, like what somebody was saying, UPI is a way of life now. Once it is adopted to the situation, I think we will all leverage it quite a lot of areas.
Absolutely.
Quite a lot of areas.
Absolutely.
No, I'm not able to pinpoint how many areas. If I take 10 areas, there'll be 100 things which we don't know where we can utilize also. That's a question of transformation this is going to bring in.
Yeah.
So that's a situation.
Yeah, just to add on a lighter note, right? I mean, there was a small article that came where one of the companies had a disclosure made. One of the activist investors used Gen AI to say that, hey, you forgot to do 2 more disclosures. And that's the reality that came in. And the auditors, external auditors were saying that, oops, we were supposed to withhold this information. And that was a real gap, right? So what was supposed to be really withheld, Gen AI could get it out. So it does has its own pros and cons, and that's why people are also trying to believe that, do I really trust it? Because disclosures, mandatory disclosures of how much ever you do, I don't want to get into what was a disclosure, but that's a different conversation. But it does put people in spot.
Give a different perspective in terms of benefits and how we are looking at Gen
sure.
AI. So one piece is cost, productivity, efficiency. I think has been spoken about, but is there a way to generate revenue through this? So we are a D2C company, a direct to consumer, in a space which is highly distribution focused. So we don't have agents, we don't have banker people coming to you and selling insurance. We are trying to see how we can use this in our journeys to say, if a customer has a question, how can that be answered on a live basis rather than someone calling back, answering those stuff.
Lovely.
So that's one piece in terms of conversions, in terms of retention of customers, etc. The other one which we spoke about, efficiency, productivity, etc. Decision making. To your point, in terms of financials being produced on a daily basis, I think a slightly contrary view is, it should not lead to, analysis paralysis. Do you really need P&Ls on a daily basis? So something to be thought through, a point to ponder about. And of course, Mr. Jagannathan Chakravarthi mentioned about fraud management. So we use this extensively. So we use some propensity models to say how we can figure out which person has a higher propensity to, commit a fraud, and then maybe do some investigations. So all this is coming to play, not just from a cost perspective, but from improvement of top line and bottom line as well.
Interesting. Thanks.
Regarding the real-time accounting, I mean, right now we are not in that phase, but looks like the regulators really want us to get there, because if you look at the recent SEBI LODR, which are applicable to the listed companies, they want disclosures to be made within 30 minutes, within 24 hours, with full details and the impact on the business. Because it's until and unless we move to real time, I don't think it can be done. Be it in terms of the numbers or other critical disclosures, we have to adopt and move towards.
Absolutely. And that was a point of me nudging you guys to say that think about continuous accounting, because that's the future. Whether we like it or not, just like Gen AI, that we will be asked to move in that direction, if not soon. Yeah, good. So again, giving a last final words from you, right? Do you believe that you will increase your investments in a CFO space with Gen AI or the broad-based citizen-centric AI moving forward? If so, what will be the percentage of portfolio? For example, if I can give a perspective of SAP, SAP says that minimum 50 to 60% of my portfolio capabilities of my product, which we believe, has to be business AI infused. That's a firm statement from what we do, and also ensure that we remove biases out of the system. Because when you spoke that I generated a PPT out of it, what you wouldn't have realized is that it has 100% bias, right? Because it works on existing data, and existing data has a biased data. Even the news report, everything, the ground truth, as we call it, is biased, and it is not going to give you a sense of whether it has a bias or not.
Definitely invest a lot in this space, which we are already doing. As we talk, we are already creating certain, I will say, conversational AI models using publicly available foundational LLM large language models which are available. So one of the current use cases what we have and where we have seen a lot of benefit is knowledge management. Now, the data security, data privacy, etc. is a big concern when it comes to Gen AI. But what we have done is we have created our own enterprise grade Gen AI model with the help of the available LLM models in the market. Now, over last 10 years, we are a 10-year-old company. Over last 10 years, we have solved many customer problems, which were been recorded in multiple PPTs, multiple documents, Word documents, and so on and so forth, and various different types of documents. Now, one of the challenge which we have always faced is the knowledge management part, because there is no, it's very hard to maintain that repository in a very objective and in a structured way, which eventually becomes more reusable sort of repository for a new person who is joining the organization. And that itself creates a huge productivity for any business. So what we have done is we have kind of hosted the entire available data set or the document repository we had under that Gen AI capability.
Good.
Now, and it's a very early stage for us to comment that what sort of productivity we have seen. We have probably, at least so far, we have seen 20-30% productivity, but we firmly believe that productivity can go up to 70-80% eventually, which itself creates significant room for any investment, right? So the returns will overweight the investments eventually, but we need to take a bolder decision today.
Lovely, very nice put.
As an organization, we are an IT services company. As an organization, we have declared that 25% of our revenue is going to be from AI in 3 years.
Lovely.
So now none of the discussion for any functions happens without AI. So already we are all working on 3, 4, 5 projects of implementation of AI, and any plan I give it to my boss has to have a AI flavor to it. Without that, I can't move forward, right? So that's a kind of urgency and immediate focus we are bringing on AI into the various functions, because we have to eat what we cook for others. So we have to have the adoption happening in our organization. What I'm going to invest is, interestingly, the processing side of it, which as everybody is trying to do, we will also do that. But the reporting, natural language queries, and all those things is normal, second level. The third level is going to be the focus on analytics on its own. So without me
Self-service.
specifically saying, it also reads what are the kind of questions I have, and then based on that, it has to produce the reports.
Got it.
The next is fraud detection. Important because organizations now spread across different places. We work from home. We are still not come to office and type of it. And across, we are actually a global organization. So we need this very, very strongly. Every company requires that, because the statutory compliance requirements is very huge and the penalties are very high. We need to have the systems in place for that. The fifth element, I also saw the investor relationship. In one of your presentation, I just saw investor relationship. This actually is a question of managing the compliance statutory requirements, as well as the what does investors require. Can we communicate with them? Can they make a question and get the data from about the company? No kind of thoughts are there. I will be interested to look into there how we can use AI to improve the investor relationship space. That's a very interesting area. That's very key for all public companies. So we will look for that. Important for that. The other, as I mentioned to you, the new technology flavor. Right? Earlier, the no code, low code, no code was the order. So are we going to have a system where the coding is like accounting, coding will also die at some point of time? I'm not sure whether we are heading there, but we have been thinking on that line. Will Gen AI be changing the perspective of how we are going to use that AI than coding for it?
Yeah. So Gen AI is helping us to go from low code, no code to pro code.
Okay.
That's the transformation that's happening.
Okay. Yeah. We'll look for that, because that's a big transformation for the entire IT industry.
Agree.
We have to wait and see how it emerges.
Absolutely.
I think for us, capital, I mean, whether we will be putting investments into AI or Gen AI projects, I think it's one way, because it funds for itself in some
Lovely.
manner, right?
Lovely.
So we don't need to worry too much about saying cost benefit. As long as that turns out to be positive, there is no constraint on that.
Lovely.
It's a little bit about a structured or a phased approach, more so because some functions get impacted more by Gen AI. So as I mentioned, sales, marketing, customer operations. So where to invest, becomes a more, or where to invest first becomes a critical decision.
Loved it when you said it funds for itself. Lovely.
No, I flip it back to you, that question, because we are very early adopters on this front. And as service providers, you have to show us how this cost will drive productivity for us and save some other costs or bring in other element of quality. Because as CFOs, we are always compelled to look for cost optimization or bringing down costs. So yeah, that's how I would do it.
Nice. Thank you. Good team. I really loved having a great conversation with great gentlemen, great people who have been driving really great leadership in your organization. Thanks a lot. Appreciate what you brought to the table. I believe the audience here were able to get something out of it. The best part is it was a homogeneous view, so that was also great. I had a tough time getting some kind of a conversation going in a different kind of a city, but business leaders alone who have Delhi-based or